On his first official visit to Ghana, President Barack Obama said it's time Africa replaces the culture of strong men with the culture of strong
what is
institutions.
important is to tell the truth.
Now, first of all, let's define what we mean by a site, because these come in all shapes and sizes. Within their textbook, in the beginning, Brian Fagan and Nadia Durrani define a site simply as a place where traces of past human activity can be found. And these are normally identified by the presence of artifacts. Some of them are pretty obvious. For example,
the Africans have the land. They
Oh,
were
no,
there
they
before
do not
you.
have the land, and
they
they will
mine
not
the
be
gold.
before us.
All right, wait a minute, Susan. Let me get my point straight before you go. They mine the lands. They get the diamonds. You sell the diamonds outside, and when you get the diamonds, you say they are not to be given their own fair share of the quota. Have you read "Cry of the Beloved Country"?
Yes, I have.
How?
It's a one-sided view.
One-sided view, and it was written by an European. How could Europeans be having one-sided view about their own
They're
king and
radicals in
king?
every nation.
Radicals? You are radicals in South Africa, then.
Oh, I see. They've developed that country through the Africans working. I know that the whites in South Africa went down there because of wealth. It was through the gold rush and all those things that happened that, we got white men in South Africa. And so they went down there purposely to use the Africans as tools for their own benefit. Isn't that?
When the white men went down there, they never even knew a black man existed down there. When the white man landed at the bottom of the Cape in 1652, the black people in South Africa hadn't even moved over the northern boundary of the Union of South Africa.
Yes. I know these people would like to get these sociological ideas just to get around the question. So far as I know, the people in South Africa are a nomadic tribe by career or by profession. They are headsmen who move with their cattle all around the belt. Nowadays, even in the olden days. Okay. It might happen that they were living down south, but because of their profession, they happened to live up north. Because in those days, there were warring tribes which were waging wars against each other. And so you cannot say that the land is yours. Everybody knows that Africa is for Africans. And when we think of Africans, we think of blacks. That's how I know. Well,
look here, just to give
you
you
are
a
using
short
the policy, and you are using the policy of aggressors that the land, the earth belongs to everybody, and the one that is powerful rules the part of the world which is owned by the others. That's the policy that aggressors use.
You know who are the aggressors? It's the African National Congress in Africa. They are the aggressors.
When Jan van Riebeeck landed in the Western Cape, our problems began. It's a historic fact. Now, I always avoid giving the details of the history, but it's not necessary. When he landed, there were residents here, in this very city, who were established here. The Khoisan San. They were living here, and they welcomed him warmly. And he established himself. They were together. Somewhere, somehow, a tension began. And there were wars that were fought. They were removed here forcefully from their area. Removed. And some of them went deep into the country, north, south, east. And the wars began because after the population arriving in South Africa grew. It is written down, it's not me concocting it. There were 8 major wars that were fought in the Eastern Cape. I didn't write that. We are not counting other small wars. 8 major wars. There was a great trek from here when there was a quarrel between the Afrikaners and the British. As a history of this country, there was an establishment of 4 republics, 2 belonging to the British, 2 belonging to the Afrikaners. When all of this was done, the blacks were not consulted, even the establishment of the republics. The clash between the Afrikaners and the British continued. There is no part of the country that there were no clashes. With the British, with the Afrikaners. Some are big and known, some are not known. The Zulus fought the British, and the major one was at Isandlwana. The Afrikaners fought the Zulus, and Ngombe, what you call the Brald River. And the British, the Afrikaners discovered, as they call it, they discovered, they actually came across mineral resources. And the British heard this, and they vowed to defeat the Afrikaners. And there was an Anglo-Boer war. That's a history of this country. Very bitter war. We all participated on either side. Only now, when we are correcting history, we are calling it a South African war because we all died in that war. At the end of that war, the English-speaking and the Afrikaners met to negotiate and agreed the four republics should be combined, and took very important decisions. Where will the parliament be as part of compromises? It will be in Cape Town. Where will the administrative city, Pretoria? Where will be the judiciary? Orange Free State in Bloemfontein. And one of the decisions, when these two met, was that you will have, therefore, a union of South Africa, the government, which will be elected at all times, but the black people would not participate in that process. It was that decision, that made the black people to make a call to meet in Mangaung in Bloemfontein to discuss what we called the national calamity, that the indigenous people are not to be part of governing this country. Very bad decision on an important decision of uniting the four republics. It was that time that we said we are going to fight to liberate ourselves, to be part of government, to participate. You must know, because it was this country was still under British colonialism fully. There were delegations that went to England to raise the matters. We did not want to fight. We wanted to be part of the process to govern this country. This now are the activities many years after the landing of Jan van Riebeeck, who opened the way for them to be here. They started fighting here, Eastern Cape, Free State, everywhere. There were wars.
We lost our way under President Zuma. We're on the wrong road now. I support whatever efforts President Ramaphosa is making.
President, you mentioned expropriation of land without compensation, and we all agreed. Actually, that was the highest applaud you got. I heard the leader of the opposition saying something else. Before I come to you, I want to warn him, the leader of the opposition, that your stay in the metros is going to depend on your attitude on the expropriation of land without compensation. And I want to warn you about that, because that's a fundamental issue which is going to make us fight with you. Because anyone opposed to expropriation of land without compensation is the enemy of our people, and such a person will be dealt with. Mr. President, the expropriation of land without compensation mentioned by you did not capture the headlines because they know you are bluffing. They know you are not serious about it. Anybody who is worried about investment in South Africa would have been worried when we mentioned the expropriation of land without compensation. But you told them, I'm just passing time. Don't worry, I'm silencing my opponents in the ANC. This cannot be an issue to bluff about. This cannot be an issue to pass time with. It's an emotive issue, and you only mention it if you mean it. It's not a matter that you can go around joking about it. There are no conditions attached to expropriation of land without compensation, because when they took our land, they never attached any condition. They just killed our people.
So do you consider white Zimbabweans to be Zimbabweans?
Those who are naturalized and have citizenship, yes.
Those who've been living there for years and years and years?
But historically.
Right.
Historically,
the people who've
they
been
have a debt
contributing to farming. Historically, they have a debt to pay.
Yes, the land, they occupied the land illegally. They seized the land from our people.
Look.
And therefore, the process of reform, land reform, involved their having to hand over the land.
But
we agreed upon this with the British, by the way.
Some 80% of that land was acquired after you took office, some of the farmland, and with the various certificates that mean government approval. Why are these people being hounded out of the country? Why are they being
they are not being
hounded off their land then?
No, they are not being hounded out of the country
You've just
at
done
all.
reports
Those
about
who are in industry, in manufacturing, in mining are not being...
The farmers I'm talking about. Why is that wonderful farmland, and why are they being...
What are you talking about? We are getting land from them, and that's all. They are not being hounded out of the country. Not at all.
They're being hounded off their land?
Not of their land.
It's not theirs.
Our land.
Even though they bought it? Even though they bought it with the certificates of approval from the government?
But haven't you heard of the Lancaster House discussions and the agreement with the British government? Because they are British settlers. Originally they have been British settlers. And we agreed at Lancaster House that there would be land reform.
But they're citizens, aren't they? And isn't this farming disaster contributing to
citizens by colonization, seizing land from the original people, indigenous people of the country?
But how did that all go so wrong?
That?
How did that all go so wrong? Because when you came in, it was about reconciliation.
No, they knew about it. They knew we had this program of land acquisition and land reform. They knew about it.
You know,
but what about
Zimbabwe is, in my view, and I stand to be corrected, I think the single thing that I think President Mugabe did, which I support, although it was a little disorderly, is to seize farms. You know, this idea that some people came from Europe and took people's farm and then they are to be compensated. You know, if a thief comes into your house and removes you out of your house and then furnishes your house and then you remove him,
on his first official visit to Ghana, President Barack Obama said it's time Africa replaces the culture of strong men with the culture of strong institutions. That time is now.